Well, folks, I wasn't really planning on doing a double upload today. Earlier, I posted a video going over 3D Zelda and how I think there's a chance we will see it on April 2nd. However, we just got word from maybe the most reliable insider that there will be some sort of Nintendo Direct presentation this week. Nate the Hate has chimed in, the most reliable leaker, the one who told us the Switch 2 was being announced on January 16th and no one believed him, but lo and behold, that ended up happening. He has chimed in saying that there will be some sort of presentation this week. So while this isn't 100% confirmed and we still have to wait for Nintendo to actually announce something here, to everyone in my comments yesterday and on social media, you're saying it's impossible for there to be a Direct this week. Once again, you can't predict Nintendo right now. They're doing weird stuff. I don't know the exact reasoning for there being a presentation a couple days before the April 2nd Switch 2 showcase, but they must have some reason for wanting to do something so close to the big Switch 2 blowout. But yeah, as always, if you are new here and you enjoy Nintendo Switch speculation, theories, discussion, news, all that fun stuff, I would appreciate you subscribing. Let's get into it. So here's the tweet that Nate the Hate put out. Once again, if you don't know who Nate the Hate is, pretty much insider number one when it comes to Nintendo right now, but not even just Nintendo, even Xbox and PlayStation. This guy's always leaking release dates, presentation dates, all that stuff, and hasn't really been wrong about anything for, as far as I can tell, like 5 years. Like, it's been a long time since Nate had any misses. He is, like, one of the most reliable people, in my opinion, right next to Puro. Here's his tweet from not that long ago. He said, "To stop the constant questions, yes, I've heard there is a Nintendo presentation this week. I believe it is on or around Thursday, and it'll be a Direct, but I'm not 100% certain on the formats at present." Now, listen, you can take this with a grain of salt. As always, with any insider, you should take everything with a grain of salt. To me, I'm reading this, and I'm like, okay, there is a Direct on Thursday. I don't really have a question in my mind anymore of if it's happening or not. This, to me, is basically light confirmation. We'll see when Nintendo announces it, be that either Wednesday morning, maybe they shadow drop it on Thursday. But let's address the elephant in the room, and that is that he doesn't know what format this Direct will actually end up taking. There is I would say, decent chance it's not a general Nintendo Direct. I think there is a decent chance it is a partner showcase. However, partner showcases, I feel like to a lot of people are like a taboo thing. It's like, oh, partner showcase bad, partner showcase bad. We've had so many partner showcases with first-party announcements in them, or at the very least, games that Nintendo are publishing in them, right? The majority is going to be third-party content. And even Jeff Grubb was alluding to this yesterday, I believe, where he said something along the lines of, yeah, it's weird. There's some stuff from third parties, from their partners, that was supposed to be announced back in February. So they have third-party things that need to be announced. Nintendo has contractual obligations with a lot of these companies to announce and market their games in a Nintendo Direct. So I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, maybe the Direct was delayed from February. I think it's definitely possible, but it is possible that if it was delayed, they have to get it out before the end of their fiscal year, which is on March 31st. So that would maybe explain them cramming it in at the very last seconds of March. But yeah, a partner showcase, I think, could definitely be what we're looking at, and that could still have first-party announcements. You look back to the last one in August that had Fitness Boxing 3, which Nintendo published. You look back to the one in February of last year. They announced Endless Ocean Luminous there. Even some of the ones they had during COVID had Cadence of Hyrule DLC. One of them had a new trailer for Age of Calamity. One of them had, I don't think Nintendo published it, but Part-Time UFO from HAL Labs. So partner showcase doesn't mean bad show. It just means mostly third-party stuff, which to me, I'm still excited to see what, usually like remasters and collections get announced. But also, I would still expect one or two things from a Nintendo itself at a partner showcase to close it off. Be that, well, Iron Galaxy is rumored to be making Metroid Prime 2 and 3. Nintendo doesn't own that studio. They're a partner. Or even HAL. Nintendo doesn't own HAL. So Kirby Planet Robobot HD, I think, would technically apply here. Really, they could skew it however they want. They can do whatever they want. If they want to temper expectations and say, yeah, it's a partner showcase, but then also have like 2 or 3 first-party announcements, they could. They could also brand it as a mini. Though I think it is probably safest to assume it will be a partner showcase. If we get a general that has a bunch of first-party Switch 1 news in it, that would be awesome. That would be incredible. I'm not gonna set myself up for that. I'm going to go in with the expectations of a partner showcase, which to me is still very exciting. I actually made a list earlier today. I was going to do a video tomorrow going over all of the third-party stuff that we actually still need to hear about. A lot of games have been trademarked. A lot of games have been rumored. So just to go over it really quickly here, there are still some Switch 1 games that need release dates, and these are games that are on every platform, but certainly feel more aligned with Nintendo. Some of these are also my own speculation. So first up, Shadow Labyrinth. This is that new Pac-Man Metroidvania from Bandai Namco. This was announced at the Game Awards. This has no release date. Coming to Switch 1. feels like a shoo-in to get a release date here. Alongside more stuff from Bandai Namco, getting a little bit more into speculation here. So about a month ago, a new Katamari game was trademarked. They announced one for Apple Arcade, but then they also have this new one coming out. Apparently, it was just trademarked. We don't know anything about it other than the name. Once Upon a Katamari, very fun name there. That feels like a great announcement for a Switch 1 Direct. I think Katamari is a game that would still come to Switch 1, even if it is a new entry, which is really exciting. That'd be the first new Katamari game in a very long time. This one's definitely just speculation, but Pac-Man World 2 repack, we've been waiting on that for a couple of years. The first repack was announced in a partner showcase back in 2022. Feels like the right time for a game like that to be announced here. They're doing a bunch of Tales remasters for the anniversary of that franchise, so I think it was Tales of Xillia Remastered was rated. We just got Tales of Grace's F, but they've talked openly about how they're going to do multiple Tales remasters over the next year or so. So, a Tales game. We're going to get a Tales game here, I would imagine. And Tales of Xillia, it's a PS3 game, probably pretty easy. Grace's F was also a PS3 game. So, if we're going to keep doing the easy remasters, we'll say, I could totally see Xillia and maybe even Xillia 2 being announced here. EA had a bit of an uh-oh on their website back in February where they had 2 games listed. They had a My Sims Agents collection listed as well as My Sims Beacon Bay collection, I want to say. And My Sims Agents, that's pretty obviously just going to be a My Sims Agents collection. That's really cool. But then My Sims Beacon Bay, I was doing some research on this. I guess Beacon Bay is the location you are in The Sims 3, specifically in DS. So I don't know if that's going to be a new thing. Maybe it being called My Sims was a placeholder. We're getting some sort of weird Sims 3 port on Switch, but EA said themselves that the My Sims collection that came out last November did better than they expected. So yeah, considering how low effort it was, I think it makes sense for them to have more My Sims stuff coming to the Switch 1. And alongside that, EA, man, oh, I'm so excited for this. This just got trademarked a couple of days ago out of nowhere, and this just feels primed for some sort of Nintendo Direct announcement, maybe a shadow drop even. The Plants vs. Zombies Reloaded was trademarked or rated or something along those lines, and this is a new thing. It's called Reloaded, so it's not just an old name. It's not them just updating the trademark or whatever. It's actually a new re-release, presumably, of the original PvZ. We haven't had Plants vs. Zombies on console since the PS3 and 360, and it was also on DS, I believe. I love Plants vs. Zombies, and if this is a remake, if this has new content, if this maybe even includes PvZ 2 for mobile, but without all the microtransactions, I would be through the roof excited because Plants vs. Zombies is so freaking awesome. So that feels like a perfect partner showcase announcement. There was also this Oddworld collection that just popped up. I saw this on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit yesterday morning. So an Oddworld collection, once again, we've had Oddworld games on Nintendo. Partner showcases are normally old games and collections and remasters and remakes, that kind of thing. So an Oddworld collection makes sense here. And then there's also just the other Switch 1 games that we know about, we know are coming, that need release dates. Sonic Racing Crossworlds doesn't have a date. I could see that popping up here. Ninja Gaiden Ragebound from Koei Tecmo. We know that's coming this summer, I want to say, before Ninja Gaiden 4. So that could totally get a date here. All of the level 5 games. So we know Fantasy Life is coming in May, I think on May 21st right now. But then we have no more information on Layton, the New World of Steam. I don't think we have a release date for the new Inazuma 11 game, which is slated for summer. So at the very least, I would love to see Professor Layton show up here and maybe get a release date for that because it is still slated for 2025. A couple indie games that would be really cool to see. Mina the Hollower, this is just a personal wish list one here. I played this game at PAX West like 3 or 4 years ago, and at that time, the developer I was talking to was like, yeah, it's coming out this Halloween, or maybe it was next Halloween. So it's been a long time since Mina the Hollower was supposed to come out. If you're not familiar with this is the new game from the Shovel Knight team. So very excited for this. It's in the style of the Game Boy Color Zelda games. Very cool from what I played. And then finally, this just popped up late last night. Hollow Knight Silksong had its Steam kind of data updated with a new copyright of 2025, which is the first time that's been updated since 2019. Now, I know even mentioning Hollow Knight is like, oh, what are we doing here? We can't keep predicting Hollow Knight. I don't even know if it makes sense to show up here, or maybe at the Switch 2 events, I could see them having waited. I could see Nintendo having paid them or something to have Silksong be like a Switch 2 thing. That's how much hype is built up for this game. But also, maybe it would pop up in a regular Switch 1 Direct. It is announced for the current Switch 1, so maybe it would show up here. But maybe that would also be a thing for the April 2nd showcase. Silksong, it's impossible to say anything with, because around this time last year, it actually got rated in South Korea, and I remember talking in videos like, oh, it got rated in South Korea. That means it's going to happen soon. So Silksong we'll see. I feel like it's got to happen eventually, though. Kind of feels more like a Switch 2 Direct announcement to me, though, just because it is such a big deal and one of the most anticipated games of all time. And just to add another ounce of credibility to this entire Nintendo Direct rumor, as I was recording, Brazil over on FamiBoards posted this. Well, if Nate is jumping in, no reason to remain on my silent visual anymore. Last week of March is what my guy said after last month's debacle, the day I've last posted here, I believe, was planning on just waiting it out with them on source probation, but if Nate's in, it's a sure thing, and my guy's back, hooray. So yeah, just another insider who admittedly was just wrong back in February, but another insider saying he has heard the same thing. But yeah, whether or not it's a partner showcase or a Direct Mini or a full-blown general Switch 1 Direct, it is seeming very, very likely that we will be getting something on a Thursday, maybe an announcement on a Wednesday, and I could not be more excited. Even if it is a partner showcase, as I outlined in this video, there actually is plenty of stuff for Nintendo's third parties to announce that would fit perfectly in a Nintendo Direct. And while I'm going to go into Thursday expecting a partner showcase, I actually do still think there's reason to believe it would be a full general or maybe just a mini, depending on how they want to brand it. They can announce first-party games in partner showcases, as I said, but I feel like they have a lot to announce, man. I really do feel like, I mean, when we look at all of the rumors from the past several years at this point, it's all like been culminating to this point. Kirby Planet Robobot, Fire Emblem 4 Remake, Metroid Prime 2 and 3, some sort of new entry in a niche franchise. I think Brazil had mentioned that about a month ago, so who knows what that could be. A lot of fan speculation, myself, you know, a Tomodachi Life or a Mario sports game. I actually think there is a lot left in the canister for Switch 1. I got a comment on yesterday's video being like, why do you think there's more Switch 1 games left? All eyes are on Switch 2. They're done supporting Switch 1. And I'm just like, dude, what are you talking about? There's 150 million Switches out there. They have to announce games at some point. And even if this is a partner showcase and there's no first-party announcements in it, that just means the first-party stuff is getting announced later. I promise you, there is more first-party games coming to Switch 1 this year. Even if it is mostly remasters and remakes, they have to announce them at some point and release them for their biggest audience they've ever had. There's 130 million active users on Switches, so there's going to be more games than just Metroid Prime 4 and Pokemon Legends EA. I am positive of that, so it's just a matter of when they announce them. If they think there is some sorts of synergy here of having the Direct just 6 days before the Switch 2 showcase, they can be like, hey, Kirby Planet Robobot, Metroid Prime 2 and 3, whatever else they announced, they can say all of these games, even though they're going to be dated probably after the Switch 2 comes out, they can say all of these games will be playable on Switch 2 at the Switch 2 Direct, and maybe that's why they're doing it. They think there could be some sort of momentum having all of these announcements back to back. There are so many people saying that any games announced in a Direct right now will be overshadowed by the Switch 2 showcase, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm just like, I don't know if that's true. Why would announcing a Kirby Planet Robobot remaster now have it be overshadowed if the Direct's a week later, and if the release date's further out? Because we were all in agreement there would be a February Direct for Switch 1 games, right? And let's say Kirby Planet Robobot's coming out in June or something, right? Why would announcing it in February make any difference than announcing it now? It's the same thing if the game's still coming out after the Switch 2 or after the Switch 2 Direct. If anything, those games would have been more forgotten by the time the Switch 2 Direct came around if it happened back in February. So I don't know. I just feel like people are so stuck in like thinking Nintendo works in a certain way when we've seen time and time again over the past 6 months to a year, even 18 months, Nintendo doesn't operate on anybody's schedule. And if they want to do a Direct a week before their big next generation blowouts, they certainly can. So we will see what it is. I'm going to go into it expecting partner showcase, but I do think they have to announce some first-party stuff for Switch 1 very soon. So maybe even if it's just one game in this partner showcase to put on the calendar, I could see that happening. But also, I'm not going to be shocked if there is just a full general 40-minute Direct with like 4 first-party Switch 1 games announced. It really won't surprise me at this point because Nintendo just is doing whatever they want these days, man. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. How do you feel about this rumor from Nate the Hate, but also Brazil? And also, there was other sources, right, that I covered yesterday. How do you feel about the potential of there being a Direct on a Thursday this week? Do you think it'll be a full Direct, a mini, a partner showcase? What do you think? I already had some people saying, oh, he's probably referring to an Indie World. Indie Worlds are not Directs. I think we can safely write that off because Nate the Hate said a Direct. Indie World, not a Direct. So it's not going to be an Indie World. I'm pretty confident in that. So let me know your thoughts. Of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo content each and every day. I guess sometimes twice a day. Follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames. Check out my other channel at It's Amiibo and click on some more videos here to listen to me ramble about more Nintendo stuff. Until next time, folks. Peace.